All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. Hey, it's Dr. Ariel. So excited to have you with us this morning for Mindset Monday. If you are new to me, I'll do a brief introduction, but I'm going to let some folks come into the room really quickly because we're streaming on YouTube and we're in the Zoom as well. And I think a lot of folks will be coming in from LinkedIn too. So, hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Ariel Ellis, and I'm excited to have you for Mindset Monday. And I'm going to do just a brief introduction to welcome you to this space. One thing that I think is important is being in community. One of my whole anchors, if you will, as in the personal work and professional work that I do, is around building community, fostering, cultivating, growing community. And so I'm excited to welcome you to a Mindset Monday, and I'm gonna give you a little context around where Mindset Monday came from. Mindset Monday is essentially an event, a virtual event that I hosted. Many of you may remember, those of you who are on my email list, if you're part of my community, you may remember that I launched a virtual coaching community called Everyone Needs a Champion in 2023. And we would host Mindset Mondays, which is a first of the month leadership call inside of the Everyone Needs a Champion community. And so, again, a coaching community where we spend time with group coaching, individual coaching, and every first of the month, every Monday for the first of the month, we would host Mindset Mondays. And so these calls became a rhythm and a staple for this community, which was a really good grounding for us, for leaders everywhere. And so while we are revamping the Everyone Needs a Champion community, and redesigning that community, we are bringing back Mindset Mondays and opening it up to the public. At this time, these sessions are for anyone to join, and this space, I believe, is needed now more than ever. So I thank you so much for being here, and really grateful for those of you who are streaming live with us on YouTube, and for those of you who are with us in the Zoom chat and are coming in from LinkedIn. Thank you so much for being here. Before we begin, I want to specifically talk to the season that we're in right now as it relates to leadership feeling heavier and more complex than ever. I'm a consultant, I'm a professor, and I'm also an executive coach. And here lately, this past year, the time that I've been spending as an executive coach with clients one on one, and even in some corporate spaces, we see that things are volatile. We see that things are uncertain. They are complex and they are also ambiguous. And so the thing about being able to create community is that you get a chance to work out these issues together, right? In a safe space, in a productive space, and also in a progressive space. And so today's session is about two things that determine the trajectory of your career. Executive presence, which I define as how you show up, and executive positioning, which I define as where you show up. And here's what I'm finding, you all. You all might feel free to let me know, give me feedback on where you are and what you're doing, and specifically on the YouTube chat. And for those of you who have questions on the Zoom, feel free to put those in the Q&A as well. But here's what I found in this past year, maybe past 2 years, actually. I'm going to say coming out of 2022 and in the navigating post-COVID. Dissatisfaction with your career and even with some folks with life is very real. But taking your power back is up to you. The marketplace, as we know, isn't where it used to be. The job market has shifted. AI has accelerated change. Entrepreneurship is getting more challenging. And even social media is rewriting visibility overnight, specifically with algorithms changing. But this means a few things for you. This means that you cannot rely on your organization or your industry to manage your reputation. This means you must be front and center as it relates to presenting your expertise. This also means you cannot leave this to chance. So let's get into it. A couple of definitions. Of course, the professor in me has to start with definitions. All right. Before we get started, I want to ground us in this so we'll understand what is executive presence, what is executive positioning. So as we talk about these two concepts, they have become essential in the workplace, defined by, as I said, the VUCA model: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. But let's clear up a couple misconceptions before we dig into the definitions. First, I want to clear this up. Executive, the word executive does not exclusively mean C-suite. All right. The word executive does not exclusively mean C-suite. The word executive traditionally makes us think of people who are CEOs and COOs and presidents of companies. And honestly, from my view, that is a part of the problem. Because when we only associate executive presence with these top titles, we unintentionally reinforce structures that keep talent overlooked and underdeveloped. So I believe that executive presence isn't about a hierarchy or a title or rank or even the level of power that you may have internally or externally as it relates to your organization or your industry. I believe executive presence is about how we show up. It's about influence, not your job level or your job title. Now, you can be an emerging leader. You can be an independent professional. You can be an entrepreneur. You can be unemployed. You can be transitioning. You could be running your own company, and you still need executive presence. So, what does executive presence actually mean today? Here's how I like to define it. Executive presence is a combination of qualities that really enables a leader to do two things: inspire confidence and influence others. That includes projecting authority, credibility, and composure. So I like to define it as a set of observable behaviors. Five specifically. You have one, decisive and clear communication. It's very obvious who you are, and it's very obvious that you can make decisions in a clear, concise way. Two, you operate with grace under pressure, right? Three, you have confidence that's rooted in your preparation based on how you show up. You have prepared for the moment, and your confidence is rooted in that, and you know it. Four, there's a professional polish around you that really inflects your intention to make impact. Not that you look like everyone else, not that you show up like everyone else, but the way that you've polished and the way that you're presenting really it reflects a level of intention that you intend to make impact. And I like to say often for myself, I intend to, for every room that I enter, I intend to leave it better than I found it. And then the fifth one, poise in high stakes environments. And this one, you all, I believe is the one that we need most in this season, and we may need most for quite a while. We need poise in not only high stakes environments, but organizations and spaces where there's high risk, right? So those are the ways in which I believe you can observe. Behaviors specifically that you can observe for executive presence. It's not a personality type, it's not a look, it's not a physical characteristic. It is a skill set. It is one that needs to be cultivated. And in a market like this, it is one that needs to be non-negotiable for you. All right, so that's executive presence. How do I define executive positioning? I want to distinguish in the definition, I want to distinguish executive positioning being opposite, not the opposite, but I would say not the same as personal branding. You might say, Dr. Ariel, how do I know if this is a branding conversation or something else? This is something else, all right? Personal branding, and I've done a ton of work in personal branding. For those of you who know me for years and years and years or follow my work, you know that I come from the PR communication space and have lived in that space for quite a long time. That is what I teach as a professor, but I enter the academy as a professor, having run two PR/marketing, communication agencies. And so, having done that work for quite a long time, personal branding is usually kind of the talk when organizations would invite me. And how do I brand myself? How do I stand out? And what I want to note here is that personal branding is about visibility. It's about brand visibility for who you are as a leader, who you are as a author, who you are as an influencer, etc. But executive positioning is about strategy. So let's break that down. Executive positioning is the strategic process of shaping your public image and your narrative so that it aligns with your business goals, so that it demonstrates your expertise, so that you can communicate your value to the right audience. And it intentionally means defining what you stand for, how you want to be known, and who needs to hear your voice. And specifically, then, how your expertise supports the goals of your organization and even your own enterprise. I believe that branding is about visibility, but positioning is about being understood and as a result, being chosen by those who need you. So I would define executive presence as being a higher level of branding and even a different category, a step up, if you will, because traditional definitions often focus on posture and polish and presentation, right? But I believe those matter. But I believe in the age of influence, in the online influencer and the AI influencer, the idea of posture and polish and presentation are really outdated. I believe that they're incomplete. I believe in today's marketplace where you don't know if you're looking at a human or an AI generated, person, where AI is evolving, where industries are shifting, where talent is being evaluated in completely new ways. Presence and positioning must be adaptive, it must be strategic and intentional. And so I think this brings us to the heart of today's conversation. As I said earlier, executive presence is how you show up. And executive positioning is where you show up and then how you're perceived once you get there. And in this climate, you all, you cannot afford to leave either at chance. So I've got 4 points for you, and I believe in practicality. I got some really practical things that you can consider. All right, point one, and I'm gonna be real honest with this. You know me, I'm a straight shooter with tact and with love and with warmth, but I'm very much a straight shooter. All right, I'm a Southern girl, so I believe in handling you with care, but I also believe in telling you the truth. All right, point one, no one is coming to save you. Okay, your industry may not be stable right now. Your organization is still adapting or trying to figure it all out. Your field is changing faster than job descriptions can even keep up. I was helping a client the other day and we were looking at some job descriptions and kind of, making a determination of what direction she wanted to go. And one of the job descriptions literally looked like it was about three jobs in one. Like the description was just overwhelming to even finish reading. And a lot of this understanding that no one is really coming to save you or your career. This may feel uncomfortable to hear, but let me tell you, it is freeing because what it does is it puts the power back into your hands. So I see some folks drop in the chat. I see some folks on YouTube. Feel free to drop in the chat and let me know one word, just one word that describes how you feel right now as it relates to your career. One word, drop in the chat. Let me know one word you are feeling right now as it relates to your career. I see confused, yes. Unsure, yes. Who else is on YouTube? Annoyed. Okay. That's real. That's real. So a couple of steps as it relates to understanding no one's coming to save you. What can I do for myself and for my career? One, I want you to think about doing a quarterly audit. Just every quarter, take about 30 seconds to just evaluate where you are, what's working, what no longer fits for you, and what the skills the market is demanding. All right. What does that look like? A couple things to ask yourself. What skills are still relevant for you, where you see your industry going? Is this working? And the reality is, if the question is yes, keep moving. But if you have some uncertainty, this is something that you need to explore. As you audit, you want to ask yourself also, what no longer serves your goals? So as you think about your goals, where you want your life to go, I work with a lot of clients who they only want to do remote work, right? Maybe an office visit here and there, maybe some travel here and there, but they really want to restructure how they show up and work and being able to spend time with family, being able to travel and being able to care for elderly loved ones or being able to spend more time with their young children, right? So thinking about the reality of that and identifying what no longer serves your goals. And again, you may do this audit every quarter or every couple of months, and you realize I'm okay for now. But if you discover I'm uncertain, you need to sit with that. The next one I want you to think about in this audit, if you will, is what new competencies are demanded in the marketplace. I'm an executive coach, as I said, and there are ways in which you can go pursue additional certifications, and not because you need to go to apply for a job for the, to do coaching in an organization, but because there's still more to learn. There's more expertise to gain. Also, as a professor, right, I'm always thinking about, and even as a consultant on the research side, I'm thinking about what other research perspectives do I need to be thinking about? What are the trends in my area of interest that I need to be merging with research and teaching and education? What does that look like for me? And I'm exploring some of those topics right now because leaders who audit themselves, and I've taken this year to really audit, this whole year to audit. Leaders who audit themselves, they stay ahead of the disruption. And this applies whether you are employed, whether you're unemployed, whether you're building a business or trying to grow your business. The next thing I want you to think about, realizing that no one's coming to save you, I want you to think about, if you haven't already done this, build a minimum 3-person personal advisory board. We often talk about I have my own board, I have an advisory board. Cool, great. Some of us don't. We haven't taken that step yet. If we start with 3, maybe 4 people, but it's 3 core people I want you to think about at the base of your board. One is a mentor. This is your high level strategic voice, right? They've done what you want to do. They've gone where you want to go. One, a mentor. The second person you need on your personal advisory board is a peer. This person is someone who is on the same, trajectory as you potentially. What they bring to the board is accountability and perspective. Okay. And the third person, again, you need a core 3, right? The third person, believe it or not, an emerging leader. This could be a mentee. This is the person who will keep you sharp and relevant. They know stuff you don't know because maybe they're a little younger, or they're just trying to get into the getting their foot in the door, and they need you. But they can do that reverse mentoring with you. If you serve as a mentor for them, you can serve as you serve as a mentor for them, and they serve as a mentee for you, and they can watch you on your trajectory, and they can give you an inspiration, right? Because you know that younger person is watching you. And again, this matters. No matter your employment status, this works. So you need a mentor, one who guides you, a peer who mirrors you, and an emerging leader who needs you. All right. The next thing, considering no one's coming to save me in my career, what else can I do for myself in executive positioning in the way of executive presence? You need to be thinking about perhaps putting a 90-day personal leadership plan in place. There are 3 things I want you to put down and I want you to track. How am I going to improve my visibility? How am I going to strengthen my skills? And how am I going to foster and curate relationships? And there's a way that you can track all 3. What does that look like over the next 90 days, maybe going into the new year, the first quarter, January to April? And I'm going to talk about visibility in a little bit. What does it mean for my expertise to be visible? Because again, I talked about personal branding being all about visibility, but again, with these comparable things in mind, we're more kind of putting some things around it so that you're focused on executive presence and positioning. How can I make sure my expertise is visible? Not just me, personal branding. My expertise is visible. Executive presence, all right, executive positioning. Um, how are my skills useful? How do I apply them? And then how do I leverage and foster good relationships? As you think about a plan to do that, I want you to be able to track all 3. And we'll talk about the tracking in a little bit before we go. Feel free to drop any comments or feedback in the chat to anything that I'm sharing, particularly around the idea that, no one's coming to save you. And there are some practical steps that you could take. And the 3 were under that category that I have for you. One, auditing your career on a quarterly basis. Again, it could just be taking notes every quarter. How did this quarter go? How do I feel about my skills? How do I feel about my goals? How do I feel about my competencies? 2, your personal advisory board. You need a mentor who guides you, a peer who mirrors you, and an emerging leader who needs you. And the last thing that I think you could do, or the third thing rather, is looking from your quarterly, maybe developing a plan. How am I going to actively ensure that my expertise is visible to those who need me? How do I keep my skills up and sharp, and identify them being relevant to the marketplace? And how do I foster and maintain really good, mutually beneficial relationships? And I want you to think about tracking all three, and we'll talk about that before we leave the tracking piece. The other point I want to make, point two, I want to make in this talk about why leaders need executive presence and executive position is because of the constant noise that we have right now with AI and social media. We used to be really concerned about social media. I still have clients sometimes that say, I don't really do social media. I don't do the TikTok thing. I don't do. Well, I get that. However, realize this, that while you're still saying I don't do social media and I can't, I don't know, I'm kind of, et cetera, as it relates to social media, you're behind because now the conversation is focused on AI. So while you're still figuring out what to do and how to do with social media, you 10 years from now, you're still going to be trying to figure out AI, and you're going to be way, 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 way behind, right? Because AI is moving. It's moving. The pace of change, you all, is relentless. AI is reshaping how we work. Social media cycles are shorter, algorithms are changing overnight, and expertise gets lost if you are not proactive. So, leaders who adapt and stay ahead are the ones, and specifically thinking about executive presence and executive positioning, they are the ones who will get the visibility and the attraction and the satisfaction, which is really what we're focused on here. How to navigate your career in a way where you feel satisfied with the work that you're doing and the results that you're getting. So I'm curious. Tell me in the chat. What do you feel more? What do you feel more bothered by, AI or social media? Because again, I hear a lot of people still get tripped up over social. Which do you feel more pressure from? Social media or AI? Social media is AI is conflicting. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I see someone on YouTube saying social media is still, I'm still social media shy. All right. Yeah. I get it. So, couple practical tips. I recommend, I know some folks are indifferent about AI. I'm doing some research on the research side that my professor had. I'm doing some AI research right now. But particularly, a step to navigate this, realize that leaders who resist AI are going to fall behind. Just like the folks who resisted social media are still trying to catch up. I want you to think about from an AI perspective. I want you to adopt one AI tool that you think will improve your performance as a leader. Just one. One that'll help with writing, whether it is writing, helping to write captions or emails, things of that nature for social media. Social media, right? Still thinking about how to integrate that. One that will help you do more data storytelling around who you are and the work that you do. One that will help you with research and be a idea generator for you, or even one that will help you with your presentations. Choose one tool. For most folks right now, the go-to is ChatGPT. Choose one tool to just start to play around with it, warm up to it. That's all you need for right now. Even some of the other tools that we use for, even in your Microsoft Word, there's what Copilot right there. So a Perplexity is one that I like to use. Even in some of your other tools, like even when we go to social media, there's AI connected to our Instagram and our LinkedIn and our Canva now has AI prompts. So you want to think about those tools and just what is the one tool that you will use or to start with to improve your performance, because that small, consistent use will then equal some major value for you. I then want you to think about establishing a simple rhythm. Here's one I like to give my clients: one post a week. Oh, Simple, specifically LinkedIn. One post a week that is not necessarily promotional or it's not necessarily about trying to drive people to something, or that could work, driving them to your website, driving them to your tool, your service, your widget, your work, or whatever you're doing inside of your company, etc. One post a week to get into a rhythm of interacting and engaging and taking ownership of your presence, right? And how you position yourself. So one post a week. Also in that rhythm is one insight a week. Okay. One insight a week. What do you mean when you say insight, Dr. Ariel? Insight is, oh, I have a light bulb moment. I realized something. Did you know? Or you read an article, right? And in that article, there were stats that relate to a challenge that you are able to solve in your work or in your that you actually do, address in your job, in your day-to-day, everyday job. Share that insight and give your feedback on it, right? Give your take on that article, give your take on that stat, or you're doing your own research and you discover something. I recommend doing that once a week, and you may not have a weekly discovery, but there are articles out, right? There are reports out, there are news headlines out, right? And in that, you can pull whatever the stat, whatever the data was, connected directly to your expertise, and you want to post that insight once a week as well. The other thing I want you to do is daily, daily make one comment per day. Now, this can live on LinkedIn, this can live on wherever you want it to live on social media. I want you to make one comment per day. And that comment can be a congratulations to someone who just got a job, or posted that they just landed a new client or something of that nature. Because what all this does, you all, it's not just about the visibility. This is about, again, others, right, seeing your name, others seeing your expertise, others being able to draw back to you, again, the positioning, having the presence, and then positioning yourself for it. The last thing I want you to think about is, considering social media, I want you to think about, how do you refresh your professional narrative? If not every 6 months, every year for sure. Is there a need for you to update your LinkedIn headline? Is it, how do you refresh your bio? Do you need to refresh a resume or a capability statement for your business? What tweaks and updates can you make to your website or even your portfolio? Because here's the thing, we're gaining expertise daily, or even on a regular basis, even if we're not getting a certificate for it, or even if we're not getting paid for it. We're gaining knowledge on our own. If you When you read that book, when you read that article, when you listened to that podcast, you then gained a perspective. You then gained more knowledge and potentially even more skills, right? That you can add to your toolbox. And so that means that your story and how you show up as it relates to your executive presence should match today's market. All right. It should match the demands of today's market. Are you ambulance chasing? Absolutely not. This means essentially, when you think about executive presence and positioning, it means that I'm thinking about all of what's happening in the world and in my industry and in my circle, in my space, in my field. And I'm curious enough to ensure that I can relate to it, I can speak to it. And so that means that however I reflect and present online, however I reflect and present in the marketplace, it needs to match that, right? So it could be just a one word change, a one sentence update, um, a small tweak to the copy on your website or your portfolio, right? So feel free to drop comments in about any of that as well. And I'll move to point three because I want to make sure we have time for questions. All right. So now I want to get into the nuts and bolts of executive presence positioning. I wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about just the state of where we are, the fact that we realize, okay, we don't trust, we can't really trust the nature of business and work, the world of work right now. We don't know where things are headed. We realize no one's coming to save us. We need to take our power back in how we show up with our own presence and our own positioning. I also wanted to make sure we addressed AI and social media and this constant noise, and how do you stand out among it? right? Algorithms constantly changing, and not sure where to put your voice and how to put your voice there. Posting, you may not get any views and you may not get any likes. Don't let that intimidate you because at least it's out there. That's important. And so now I want to dig into the actual tactic around executive presence, how you show up. Because people decide whether they trust you and your leadership in the first moments that they interact with you. Presence matters, especially in uncertain times. And you might say, well, Dr. Ariel, folks who don't have my expertise, they have more of a following, or folks who don't have my experience, they have more, they have better income, or they have better client opportunities, or they have the better job, they have the better title. Okay, fine. That could be the case for now. But I want you to think about how presence matters, even in these uncertain times. Feel free to drop in the chat and let me know one word that people, tell me what people say about you. There we go. What do people say about you? What's one word that people use to describe your presence? Drop that in the chat. Oh, fearless. Hey, Courtney. Fearless. Yeah. Wise. Hey, Deandra. One word that people use to describe your presence. She's a wise presence. She's a fearless presence. She's very bold. She's very brave. He's very he's very creative. He's very um, profound in how he speaks. He's very relatable, right? So as you think about this, I want you to consider one, happy. I like it. Oh, that's sweet. Happy. That's so beautiful. So I want you to think about this. Now, this is especially for those folks who like to hide and like are really shy. But I want you to think about this. Record, yes, record and review one meeting or presentation each month. Even if you just pull out your phone and get some talking points, develop some talking points, use a ChatGPT or Perplexity or Copilot or something like that to generate some talking points. I want you to start practicing your presentation style. And as you practice it, or as you prepare it, you want to record it, and then you want to play it back. As you assess, think about these things. I want you to look at your tone of voice, the pace of your voice, the clarity with which you communicate, and then any filler words. I do this a lot with my students. I used to filler words like and hums like and right. I had to catch myself from saying that every other phrase or every other sentence I would say right. And um, I started to catch myself right. And as I reviewed myself and recorded, and I started to play that back, I started to catch what that looked like, right? And I'll just give you an example, right? Right. And so I had to catch myself because I realized that that was impeding upon my flow. Also, I had a client one time, um, his YouTube channel, and his filler word is okay. So after every sentence, every point, okay, right? And often we're just saying that because we're looking for affirmation. We're looking for, you're talking to a screen or whatever, or you're talking to whatever you're doing. You're looking for affirmation and connection and by saying right and okay, right? So there's an agreement that you're seeking, but you're the agreement. You got all you need, right? You are all you need. So tone, pace, clarity, and filler words is what I want you to be thinking about as you review what you record. And I often tell clients just do it each month. Pull your phone out, record yourself expressing and explaining your expertise or talking about a topic that you care about or a topic that you are an expertise in, you're a subject matter expert, etc. And then review what that looks like and assess yourself. Some folks are really scared to do that. But in today's day, if you are going to take your power back around your executive presence and positioning yourself, you've got to make sure you know what you look like, you know what you sound like, you know what your idiosyncrasies are when you present before people and before groups. All right. The next one, this is important. I like to call this tilting the room. Right. We're not always, well, we've been back into in-person spaces, but a lot of spaces that we're in are still very virtual now. So I want you to practice moment control. I call it moment control, but as you come into the room, I like to call it tilting the room. The moment you walk into a space, whether it's the in person room or the virtual space. You've got your shoulders back, your neck is long, your breath is controlled, you're taking away the anxiety, removing the nervousness, and you've got your opening statement ready. That first impression is critical. So I want you to think about, how do I come into this space? I don't have to be loud. If you loud, be loud. That's you. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be extroverted. If that's you, be you. But just know that presence is often decided in the first 8 to 12 seconds. Research shows presence is often decided in the first 8 to 12 seconds. And so remember the intentionality about leaving that room better than you found it, right? Coming in as a game changer. So it means I have to practice. I control the moment. No one else controls the moment. I control my moment, right? So it means coming in with confidence, realizing that those first couple of seconds, people have already decided what they think, how they feel. And yes, you can change their mind because, it's possible. But that presence coming in immediately is going to be critical. Then I want you to think about the next thing is having a signature communication style. So, making a decision around how you want to be perceived and then practicing that consistently. I've had a lot of practice because I'm a professor and I've been a professor since, gosh, 14, almost 15 years. So I've had a lot of practice presenting, right? Facilitating conversations. And then even going into, as a consultant, going into companies and presenting trainings and strategic planning processes and things of that nature, right? Going into churches and helping church staff and pastors and different people, going into various spaces. I won't keep going on and on about that, but I've had a lot of practice, right? And when you think about your signature communication style and you practice it consistently, you want to think about, do I show up as very decisive and confident? Do I show up as very calm and inviting? Do I show up as very direct and bold? Or do I show up as very warm and sensitive, right? Choose your style. You don't have to study other people. You can, but you don't have to copy other people. Let me say that. You have to copy other people. Choose your style. You can study others, but don't copy. Choose your style and stay that way consistently. Yes, you will grow. Yes, you will evolve and all those things. But as you choose your style, you become uniquely positioned to build that executive presence out in a way that is much faster than trying to do it perfectly or trying to copy someone else. Any feedback to that, feel free to drop that in the chat. And then the final point I want to make, of course, is about executive positioning. So executive presence is having that confidence, knowing who you are, showing up in that space, looking at things that you can practice, right? That monthly presentation practice, observing yourself. When you have a speaking engagement, going back and looking at yourself, understanding, did you practice moment control? This is my moment. Help me to, I need to breathe. I need to show up confidently. I need to have my opening statement ready, making that opening bold statement, and then taking the rest of the presentation from there. And then your communication style. How do you want to be perceived? And how do you practice it and show up in that way consistently? All right, next, executive positioning, where you show up. This is where we've landed as it relates to the tactical things that I was talking about earlier with the plans and the audits and stuff like that. All right. Tell me, tell me, where do you feel unseen right now? Where do you feel unseen right now? Is it in your organization as an employee? Is it in your industry? Is it online? I know a lot of folks have been complaining about LinkedIn here lately with the algorithm changing and not getting the feedback or the views that you typically get. Even other platforms have been concerning. But I'm curious for you to think about this. Where do you feel unseen right now? If people don't know what you bring to the table, then they can't call your name when the moment comes. I'm gonna say that again. If people don't know what you bring to the table, they can't call your name when a moment comes about. I often tell clients, it doesn't, we say this a lot. Here's what we say a lot. It's not, it's all about who you know. Cliche, 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 cliche. It's all about who you know. It's not. It's not. You know what it's about? It's about who you know and who knows what you can do. Because if I know you, I don't know what you bring to the table. I don't know what you can do. I don't know your expertise. I don't know how you can solve my problems. What good is it that I know you? It's good to say I know you. Glad to know you, right? But if I don't know what you can do, if I don't know how you can solve my problems, if I don't know what expertise you have, if I don't know your track record, I can't call your name. I can't bring your name into a room. I can't send you that email and ask you to work with me on X, Y, and Z. I don't know what you can do. So this is where positioning comes in. So a couple tactics. I want you to assess this, and this is great going into the new year. I want you to assess this. Identify the rooms, the events, and the conversations, and even the platforms that matter. What is happening in your industry? What rooms do you need to be in? What events do you need to be attending? What conversations do you need to be privy to? And what platforms? And the platform could be an online platform. Platform can be an organization that you're a part of, like a membership association. A platform could be a community that you're a part of, maybe an online community or even a local in-person community. Which ones matter to you and your expertise? Where can you serve? I lead two online communities, and for one of them, just over the Thanksgiving weekend, I mapped out what would be good places in 2026, good conferences to go to get build out the connection between those attendees and my community, right? Where are the people? Where are the people that need to know about my community, right? So what rooms matter? What voices matter? What platforms matter? Map those out and identify how can I show up in those spaces? And not only how I can show up, I want you to think about this too. How can I serve those spaces? Because here's what we miss with executive positioning, right? Talking about positioning, which has a lot of the networking components to it. Positioning is critical because, again, people need to know how you can solve their problems. People need to know your expertise. But oftentimes, when we go into a networking space or into a room, into an event, into a conversation, into a platform, whatever, online platform, whatever, we are often thinking about what we're coming to get. We're often thinking about what we're coming to get, what we're coming to gain, right? Whether knowledge or relationships, or I'm coming to get the client, I'm coming to get the job, I need to know the people, I need to figure out who I need to know what I can do. Scratch that. I want you to think about in any space, what can I give? It's a flip. I know it. But what can I give? How can I serve? Why? Because there's levels to it. But why? Because again, this is where positioning happens. Folks need to know your expertise. They need to know how you can solve their problems. Now, we're not talking about doing stuff for free unless you discern that you can you're going to do a thing for, pro bono or whatever. Or you're going to help someone with something, because you have the access and the expertise to do it. That's totally up to you. But I'm telling you, when you come into a space, figuring out what you can gain and what you can get, you forget about what you can give. So I want you to think about, from a positioning standpoint, you need to be seen as a subject matter expert. And so, how you can serve, how you can support, how you can encourage, how you can give feedback, how you can give insight, that is what you need to be thinking about. Any room, any event, any conversation, any platform. Because what this does, this prevents aimless networking. It also, again, from positioning standpoint, props you up, if you will, as a subject matter expert. And that is the work of executive positioning. I want you to think about, and I think I said this. I want to restate this if I haven't. I want to restate this if I have not. Remember when we say the word executive, and this may even be on my final point. An executive is not, as I said, I did say this in the beginning. An executive, we have been conditioned to think that an executive is just someone who lives in a C-suite. If you are executing a responsibility, you are an executive. Okay? You're the executive mom, you're the executive wife, you're the executive daughter, son, you're the executive dad. Okay? You're the executive of your home. You're the executive of the community organization where you serve on the board or on the committee. And some may say, no, Dr. Ariel, you're taking that word out of context. But for the purposes of this definition, I want you to think about yourself in that way because I believe that's part of the problem. We've made folks think that they do not have power to navigate their life and their careers in just how we use these words, right? Yeah, an executive inside of a company is a CEO. An executive inside of a company is a president or a vice president. But say, for instance, if I'm in the classroom and I'm a professor, I don't consider myself an executive. The president of the organization, of the university, the vice presidents of the university, they're the only executives inside the organization. Not so, because as a professor, I'm the executive of my classroom. I'm the executive of the thing that I lead. I execute, I execute responsibility over my students and over my area of expertise so that I can impart knowledge and wisdom to my students, so that I can manage the process of them learning and evolving and retaining the knowledge that they're coming to get by being a student at the university. So I want to make sure that that is very, very, very clear that we're taking this word and we're calling it for what it truly is, or this concept, calling it for what it truly is. All right, back to my point. Executive, the final point, executive positioning. Another tactic, tactic two, create one thought leadership asset. You have a ton of assets that you can use. If you haven't already, I want you to create a thought leadership asset. I want you to start with one single piece of content that demonstrates your expertise. This webinar is a thought leadership asset for me, of mine. I have a few others, but this is just one of them. It is a single piece of content that demonstrates expertise. And notice from the other first point about, about executive presence is it gives me an opportunity to serve. All right. So this could be a YouTube channel. This could be articles that you write on a regular basis. I have a Substack that I write, or a newsletter that I use for the ministry and marketplace work that I do. And so there are different spaces where I decide to have my voice. But I want you to think about, identify that one single piece of content, whether it be an email newsletter, an online, your blog, whatever it is. Get that thing and work it. Work it to the best of your ability. I don't want you to be discouraged about it not getting the numbers or the visibility. This is for you to position yourself so that when opportunities come around, your expertise is out there and it is accessible. That is what's most important. You are demonstrating your expertise. Now, some folks, I often have coaching clients who they say, well, Dr. Ariel, I can't do that because my employer, et cetera, et cetera. There is something that you can do that would not, if you will, that would not cause conflict or concern for your position or your company. All right. A blog, articles series, or whatever it is, mini case studies, slide carousels on LinkedIn, whatever that is, or you don't want people to see. I have a client who is in the tech space. It's ed tech, and they're in the tech space, and they are concerned sometimes about what their employer may see or their colleagues may see, et cetera, et cetera. Well, your colleagues and your peers and your supervisors don't have to be on your newsletter. They don't have to be on your email list, right? When you share, articles that you've written, or you share expertise, or you share thoughts, they don't have to be on that, right? So I want you to think about your one thought leadership asset that you will use to demonstrate your expertise. Here's what it does. This gives others something to reference about who you are and how you show up. And here we go, it gives them something to share. That email newsletter that you do, you've got maybe 50 people on the email list. They don't have to be anyone that works with you. It's totally up to you if you want to put some colleagues, fellow colleagues on there, or whatever. But it may just be folks who trust you, who who you appreciate. They have knowledge to share. You have knowledge to share, and you have this list of 50 people on your newsletter, your email newsletter, and you share good content. You share good knowledge. You share useful information, things that they can apply to their life, their career, family, whatever you write about, whatever your expertise is. And as you develop that, not only does it give them something to reference and think, oh, yeah, Ariel does. Oh, yeah, that's right. Ariel is, yeah, I know she's a professor. I know she just used to do PR and did some like DEI consulting and stuff like that, but she's actually also an executive coach. Good to know. Oh, by the way, I remember someone telling me that they needed an executive coach. I'm going to share this email, right? This article that she emailed me, that she wrote. I'm going to share that with them. It works. Trust me. One thought leadership asset that you're going to build and be consistent with, demonstrating your expertise that people can share and reference. And lastly, it does work. It does work. It works. Yes. Yes, Courtney, it works. It works. Next, initiate one high value conversation per week. Yes, this is executive positioning. Because again, the one I just shared with you was giving folks something to reference that demonstrates your expertise and something that they can share. One high value conversation per week. And I got a great testimony for even myself that I can share with you that just happened last week. So I've been on a little bit of a work break, not much, but a little. Yeah, I would say I have been on a work break, a little bit on a work break this year. Um, Intentional but not intentional. And um, but this year I have probably connected with more people than I have if I was working as usual and as busy as I often am. So I want you to think about your high value conversation. This does not mean that you are talking to a CEO every week. You could, but it doesn't mean that. Three people I want you to think about considering reaching out to every week, every other week, stagger who this is. Consider in your one high value conversation per week, consider reaching out to a leader that you admire, whether you know them or not. Nowadays, people are kind of open to talking to you if they don't know you. If you reach out to them and tell them how much you admire them and their work, et cetera, or you're interested in what they do and you want to learn from them. Sometimes people will actually respond to you. I've not had anybody over my 20 plus years of being, in the field of work that I'm in, that folks have, ignored me. Now, some folks will. But most folks that I've reached out to and said, hey, I really admire your work. I really appreciate what you've done and how you contributed to XYZ industry. Would love to just have a chat with you, a virtual coffee, whatever. So reach out to a leader you admire. This can be someone that you used to work with, someone that is a champion in your field. One high value conversation per week with someone like that. The other type of person that could be your one high value conversation per week is a peer. Notice how I'm often talking about peers because peers are like your siblings. Peers are like the people that, again, y'all are on a similar trajectory, right? They know things you know, but they actually probably know some stuff you don't know, and you probably know some stuff they don't know, right? So thinking about how to connect with your peers. Lastly, one high value conversation per week with someone who is a potential collaborator, someone who, again, knows what you know, probably knows some things you don't know, and you all may have potential synergies. Okay. You may not know that they're looking for your expertise, and they may not know that they're looking for your expertise, but because there's connection and you reach out, you can explore what opportunities you can work on together. All right. Whether that's now, I told you I would give you an example, and then we're going to do we're going to end do a little Q&A if y'all have any questions. Um, when you think about putting it on your calendar, 30-minute chat, like a 30-minute chat with someone, you don't have to do it every week, but if you did, that means you have 52, give or take holidays, give or take vacation, right? Give or take life events. You have potentially 52 new opportunities a year to connect with people. 50, at least 50 people that you can have a 30-minute conversation with throughout the year. A leader you admire, a peer in your field, and a potential collaborator. All right. My mic is doing a thing, keeps moving. So I want you to consider that. Now, I will tell you. So I reached out to someone that I know and don't know extremely well, but I reached out to someone that I know. And I hadn't talked to them in quite a while. And I knew this person because I invited them to serve. Okay. I invited them to serve in a way, in a capacity. I'm trying to be very non-descriptive here because I want to respect their privacy. But I reached out to someone who I know. And I know them because I invited them to serve on a thing that I was building. Okay. And they served very well. And I had not talked to them since that moment. And as I'm talking to them, I realize that the space that they're in, they have some influence around a thing that I am building. I'm trying to be so respectful here. I'm building a thing, right? I'm working on a thing. I've been building a thing for quite a while. So I'm building this thing and I want people to give me feedback on it. And I wasn't thinking about this phenomenal person as someone who would give me feedback on it. I just want to catch up. Wasn't thinking about where they work and how they do their work and what I wasn't thinking about any of that. I just realized that I needed to reconnect with this person and that we had a good connection and that this could potentially be a high value conversation. Okay. And I would consider this wasn't a leader that I admire, although I do admire them. This wasn't a potential collaborator, although as a result of the conversation, it could be a collaboration. This is a peer in my field. This is a peer in my field who I invited to serve inside of a thing that I had built. And they said yes, and they served. They served excellent with excellence. And I had not talked to them in about a year. And I reached out and we had a 30-minute Zoom call last week. As a result of that conversation, I had a thought, oh, I'm building something. I want to get your feedback on it because that's your space. Oh, wow, that sounds interesting. I'd like to introduce you to X, Y, and Z. And so now the introduction is leading to, a potential collaboration. Again, all because I realized I needed to initiate that high value conversation with someone who's a peer in my field, who I admire, who I didn't think could be a potential collaborator until we had the conversation because I needed to demonstrate my expertise to this individual in the conversation. This is executive positioning. It's simple, y'all. We calling it that, but it's very, very simple, right? We just have to do it and think about it. How important it is to take your power back. If you are dissatisfied with your career right now, this is your cue. Not to wait, not to complain, but to take your power back. I want you to consider this. Hard times have a way of forcing leaders into their next level. The pressure often clarifies your priorities, and the discomfort develops your capability because tough seasons often create the strongest version of you. So, I want you to let me know one thing that you need to stop leaving to chance. Type it in the chat. What is the one thing you need to stop leaving to chance? And if you don't want to type it, just process it. What is the one thing that you do not and cannot or no longer can leave to chance? All right. Well, thank you for being here today. Yes, my future. Listen, anyone can, I think we all can say, I can't leave my future to chance. I can't leave my voice to chance. Yes, yes, yes. I can't leave opportunities to chance. I love it. Yes, thank you. Leadership in this climate, everyone, is not passive. I want you to know leadership in this climate is not passive. The job market, and I'm encouraging you on this, the job market cannot define you. Your organization, they cannot define you even. Your industry won't even secure you, but you can. You have the power to elevate your presence, to clarify your positioning, to expand your influence, and to shape the future of your leadership. So as we prepare to relaunch it, Everyone Needs a Champion, the coaching community, we're bringing back Mindset Mondays. I want you to be a part of this evolution. Mindset Mondays has been a space for leaders to sharpen their thinking and strengthen their leadership identity. So you'll be seeing much more engagement and support. And leadership development resources over the next couple of months. And I'm really excited for what's ahead. If you are ready for dedicated support on your leadership journey, I love to walk alongside you. So for one-on-one executive coaching, or if your organization needs a thought partner or strategic planning or leadership development, please email me directly at hello@arielellis.com. I am here to help you elevate and expand and execute with excellence. And I really appreciate you all for being here. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? I know we're just a minute over, but any questions? We've got YouTube streaming. Any questions? I'm looking at the Q&A in Zoom. No questions. Okay. Thank you for those of you in the chat. I appreciate you. Thank you for the love in the chat on Zoom. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Listen, the replay, I'll send it to everyone. For those of you who are in the Zoom, the replay is available on YouTube. Hey, everybody on YouTube, if you're watching this, if you're watching the replay, thank you so much. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Mindset Mondays, every first Monday of the month. Every first Monday of the month. Mindset Mondays. All right. We'll be back here in January. I wish you a very happy, safe, warm, and even restful holiday season, through the Christmas season, through New Year's. And we'll be back on, I think it's January 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. It is January 5th. January 5th, we'll be back here and and on a new topic. So please like, share, subscribe for those of you on YouTube, and send this to someone who needs it. And stay in touch, of course, as we share more updates about more opportunities. Keep leading with authority, with intention, and with excellence. All right, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.